Hello, and welcome to A Day with a Cart Driver. I'm Day.
And I'm Scamp.
And... Alright, look folks, it's summer 2016. You know what that means. Yeah, the next Hayao Miyazaki...
Oh.
I jest.
Do you have...
Your name came out.
Do you have a feeling that there was a deep in your soul that something is not quite right?
Yeah, like I have gas?
That there is a love that you were missing and yet you can't grope? Sorry, I'm not very good at this.
I think your true feelings have become clear. Actually, speaking of, I made the joke about the next Hayao Miyazaki. Have people stopped that?
I don't think so.
Okay. It's just we haven't...
Yeah.
Well, his Weathering with You just came out, so maybe we'll hear it again.
Yeah. But Your Name...
It's a movie.
With Makoto Shinkai, and he's had hits before. 5 centimeters a second was quite a big deal.
This was an ungodly, juggernaut from hell.
Your Name outsold, I think, everything that's not Spirited Away in Japan. Your
Name was done in wide release in a significant chunk of the world.
Yeah. When I say,
we saw ads for it on the train in England.
But, not only in the train in England, but, they kept being there. They stayed there for a while. Because I've seen ads for anime on, the tube before. But not for the, sustained period that Your Name had, for example.
Your Name was huge.
Your Name is arguably the biggest anime of the decade.
I also have not seen it because I can't stand body swap stories. I find them incredibly, incredibly off-putting. So I haven't seen it.
I have. Makoto Shinkai always seemed kind of uncomfortable with the success this movie got. A bunch of his interviews afterwards, he was like, oh god, no, please stop watching it. He genuinely seemed uncomfortable with that, just what a phenom this thing was.
Is it I wonder if it somewhat undermines his view of himself as a kind of art house type?
I think you can maintain that even if you're the biggest thing in anime.
Oh, but if it's the first time it happened.
Yeah. But yeah, he basically now, thanks to Your Name, he now has free range of whatever the hell he wants for the rest of time.
Which means we're probably going to get a bunch more stories involving sad sack boys who trigger for when no girlfriend.
Yeah.
I'm being a bit unkind.
You're being unkind because there's also a sad sack girlfriend who does the same thing. Well, no, not really.
Trigger for when no boyfriend.
Yeah.
I'm being unkind. I should note, I do not necessarily dislike his work. I think the first portion of 5 centimeters per second is a solid piece of work. I just don't like watching the rest of it.
Yeah, Your Name, I mean, what's weird, because I finally actually got around to watching it. I know you haven't, but I did eventually
You say that as if I'm going to. I'm not. Period.
I got around to watching it eventually. It kind of surprised me that it is basically, it's another Shinkai film. It's him telling his same star-crossed sort of lovers longing for an almost nostalgic feeling that they cannot remember of a life that they once led but can only remember the spirit of type thing. It's that same story that he's kind of been doing forever.
Wow. Star-crossed lovers is a type of story that has resonated quite strongly throughout history with people. Which is kind of ironic, when you consider that, this is a popular story trope, and then you turn around and look at the societies that people have been in that have produced these stories, and it's wait, if you dig this... Wait, what? Your society just keeps making more of it anyway.
But there's also to be said about... You don't even need to have been in a star-crossed love to feel this. If anything, it's that sensation of
yearning.
Yearning, but almost like a fake nostalgia, which I think has been very prominent in his pieces. I am not a fan. I must be blunt. I don't like his movies. This is probably his most watchable of them all because the first half of it is just very it's slightly goofy body swap. There's some interesting dynamic with the characters, but I kind of lose interest by the end. But it's alright, I don't know. I finally watched it. I finally watched the Phenom. That is your name.
I liked Voices of a Distant Star. And I did like The Garden of Words. And I did like the first portion of 5 centimeters. But...
Yeah. Your name. I think it sits... I don't think it's number 1 on Mal, but it might be number 2 in terms of...
I will point this out. 5 centimeters per second visually was... I mean, it's hard to describe the extent to which that was such a shock at the time. It really was. I mean, it looks phenomenal.
Yeah,
but yeah, I don't think you like his visual style either.
No, I don't.
But I think you could probably at least say that
he does nice clouds.
I really enjoyed all the flower petals. Okay.
Okay.
Look, here's the thing. Even if you don't dig the style, I don't think you can sit there and say that it was visually terrible.
No, not at all.
And that's what I mean.
Yeah.
It's not just about the style, it's also, well, the execution, I guess is the best way of putting it.
But yeah, have you ever looked at what the, like how it has passed like nearly every Ghibli movie in terms of like, just people who saw it in the cinema when it comes to like Japan as well, not just abroad.
Well, if I'm not mistaken, it was by a fairly long shot the bestseller for the year it came out on home release.
Yes.
Which I don't think it made it. I don't think it was released by the end of the year. I think it was probably a release in 2017.
I think it may have passed out because like they have a thing of like best-selling anime movies abroad, and it's like the first Pokemon movie and Spirited Away, and this is in terms of things people saw in the cinema. And I think this may have broke Spirited Away in terms of many people who saw it. It was
okay. We get it. It was big.
Speaking of other movies, this one obviously wasn't as big, but still left a huge impact in anime fandom.
Oh yeah, A Silent Voice,
which we have seen,
which is KyoAni.
Yep.
An adaptation of a well-regarded manga by the same name, and it follows. It is about
a deaf girl.
Well, yes, but it's also about a boy from a not particularly well-off home getting over, coming to grips with the fact that he has behaved badly in the past.
He was a bully.
He was a very nasty child. And becoming aware that, well, your actions have consequences, and also, too, I think, becoming aware of how his behavior negatively affects his mother, I would argue, is part of it. Not a huge part, but... and yeah, it starts with him. He has been working part-time jobs and saved up a bunch of money. Basically, he's decided that, well, I'm such a horrible human being, I'm going to kill myself and leave all this money for my mom because I've been awful. And his mother realizes this what's going on, and she gets really angry with him, and she lights the pile of money on fire. And she's like, see, now there's no point. But yes, it's also about a deaf girl who is the person who was the victim of the lead's bullying when they were small children. He runs into her again. And they end up forming a friendship.
Yeah.
But it's a somewhat easy one because one of the other things is the boy realizing that it's not just about being contrite. It's also... He's not the only piece of the equation in being able to forgive himself.
Yeah. She needs to forgive him.
Yeah. And I think this movie is pretty solid. The final,
third.
Maybe, is it that much?
The
final quarter, something happens that... Something dramatic happens. Okay, fine. There's something about something that happens subsequent to that, though, that is so gobsmackingly stupid and impossible that I remain frustrated.
It all gets a bit K-drama, is how I would describe it.
Again, my issue isn't so much with that as with a very specific occurrence. That, I'm not going to spoil it. It's just, if you see it, you're going to know exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
I still think it's a good film on the whole, and I think it's a worthwhile watch.
I don't usually like KyoAni stuff. This was alright. I definitely liked it more about halfway through and then kind of turned on it by the end. Again, partly the thing that you said, but also just the intense dramatics of the end of it, because it felt like quite subtle towards the start. But I've never liked that kind of stuff, so that's kind of why I turned on it in the end.
There is also, I mentioned that the boy is from a not particularly well-off household. There is one of the points of tension between the leads when they're children is the fact that the girl comes from a much, much wealthier household. And that's not hammered, you're not hammered over the head with it, but it's definitely an aspect of it, which is interesting because I don't think you get a lot of that in anime.
Yeah.
By the way, speaking of interesting, subtle, and not what you don't get much of in anime, you find out that the boy's older sister, her husband is, he's a foreigner of color. He's,
I do remember that.
I can't remember if he's supposed to be, I'm not sure if they ever specify whether he is supposed to be
Asian or black.
Oh, I assumed he was either black or Latino. But yeah, and there is the household that he grows up, the household he's in as a teenager. It's his mother, who's a hairdresser, and his older sister and his older sister's child, who's clearly mixed race. And I point this out because there really are not that many mixed race people. Well, let me rephrase that slightly, because you definitely run across the, I'm half American!
That's why I have blonde hair and blue eyes.
And huge tits.
Yeah.
You don't usually get people who are mixed race who are
black.
Something other than lily white.
Yes.
I found the household very interesting. But yeah, that was A Silent Voice. Since we're talking about movies anyway, there is one that neither of us have seen, although I know you keep meaning to see it.
Oh, yeah.
Kizumonogatari, which is from, the Monogatari franchise. Yeah,
it's the prequels, essentially. They've been talking about making these movies for years and years and years. And then finally made it into 3.
Of course.
And it is... My understanding of it is basically the Monogatari series printed money for basically the entire decade. And this is where they put it all. They put it all into the Kizumonogatari movies because they look incredible.
The novels that this adapts have apparently done well enough in the West that they're doing audio versions.
Wow.
And from my understanding, it's audio versions using some fairly primo talent.
Interesting.
Which is really interesting because I don't know that I really struggle to think of any light novels that have ever gotten that treatment. Which, I wish more did.
The Monogatari series has always been big for as weird and Japanese and pervy as they are. They've always been big hits.
Speaking of big hits...
Oh yeah, let's move on to the TV series.
Alright, so we have 2 heavy hitters here.
Oh yeah, these are definitely the biggest compared to everything else. Yeah, looking through the list.
I'm thinking about it because... So, the 2 are Mob Psycho and Love Live Sunshine.
Yes.
And I'm looking at them and considering which one was probably the bigger hit.
It's hard for me to talk about Love Live Sunshine without considering the Love Live franchise as a whole.
And also, Love Live Sunshine, I think, may have been for the year it was released on home video. I want to say it was the second best-selling.
After Your Name, obviously.
Because it was averaging 60-something thousand or 70-something thousand units per units per disc.
Yeah. Whereas I know Mob Psycho sold well, but...
Yeah. And then I was thinking, maybe Mob Psycho is a little bit bigger in the West. But then I thought around
No, I don't know.
I'm not sure.
Mob Psycho is a critical darling, though.
Yes, Love Live Sunshine is totally not a critical darling.
So Mob Psycho 100 is by the author of One Punch Man, which you probably know. Which, One Punch Man is probably the bigger of the 2, but Mob Psycho definitely got the kind of critical acclaim. A kid who's a psychic, who's super powerful, but... instead of everyone is like, oh my god, you're so powerful, and he's like, I know, but I'm kind of a loser. And I don't really know what I want to do. And I want to be stronger.
So he needs a muscle on Ichan.
He does need a muscle on Ichan. He finds his muscle on Ichans, who are great. And it's basically like, being all strong and all powerful ain't shit if you're not confident in yourself. And you could get your confidence from your being a crazy psychic kid. But that's just not where he gets his confidence from. He wants to be able to believe in himself, in his like social skills, in his confident in his own body type thing, comfortable in his own body, and he just doesn't feel that. I like to call it as the 21st century Akira, because they're both about kids with psychic powers trying to come to terms with themselves. One is a hell of a lot more. Other thing note about Mob Psycho, possibly the most incredible visual TV series of the decade. It takes a very fast and loose approach. Like, there's a lot of movement, but some of the shots in this series are just a kind of a mind-blowing level of just creativity, but also just shot composition, just constant movement combined with the music and things like that. Mob Psycho is maybe my favorite visual TV anime this decade. It's not my favorite like visually overall because Redline exists, but Mob Psycho just is an absolutely incredible thing. It actually took me a while to get into as well, because the first 2 episodes you kind of only get kind of the comedic take, and I was like, I don't really know, I want to watch One Punch Man again. But I got a lot of good reviews, so it was one I ended up going back to and really, really loved. Really, really hell of an anime. Cool OP.
And since we mentioned Love Live Sunshine...
Yes, this is your one.
You use the phrase Prince Money for Monogatari. I think it's safe to say that the Love Live franchise, for all parties involved, Sunrise, Bushiroad, etc., has also fairly reliably printed money. Love Live Sunshine, interestingly, this iteration of the franchise, whereas the previous iteration, fans voted on everything that they got. In this case, that wasn't the case. Fans were presented with the characters, like, these are the characters, no, you don't get to choose.
And you didn't like the first season of Love Live, but you...
Yeah, I didn't like I think the original Love Live is fairly trite and often quite boring. I really, really enjoyed Love Live Sunshine. It has, I think it's just,
I think it's just neat.
I think it's a solid little slice of life show. I think it has more guts than the original did, because what it is willing to let its characters do ultimately is beyond what they were willing to let the originals do. I appreciated that. I also felt like the cast was more fully rounded characters rather than, cardboard cutouts, which I would accuse the original of not really doing well by most of its cast. Most of the cast remains fairly two-dimensional, no pun intended. Whereas Sunshine fills the characters out a bit more. There's definitely a couple characters that people came away from saying, we didn't get so much of that one, but there are 9 lead characters. It's kind of inevitable. But the original Love Live, you get that feeling more with there's only like 3 of these who have personalities beyond the very superficial.
Nico.
Well, yeah, she's one of them. Who has, Nico's a good character because she's allowed to be like trash in a way that none of the other characters ever are. But yes, I really enjoyed Sunshine. I was a little skeptical going in because it was sort of like, oh, you've just, reinvented the original characters and you're doing the same exact thing and it's the same plot beats. And that didn't end up really being the case. There are similarities, but overall it's just, I think, a much better version of the original story. I think it also has the original had a sense of humor, but I think that this one has a better sense of comic timing. There are some funny sequences involving, visual humor, basically. So, yeah, I liked it a bunch.
Anyway, for the rest of it, then there's a whole bunch of other TV shows.
There's Ray Live, which had the unusual, at the time, distinction of having all been dropped at once.
Kind of like Netflix shows are nowadays.
Except without people getting angry because...
They didn't realize it was going to happen.
Well, they didn't realize it was going to happen. And it happened right at the start of the season, so instead of it, people being like, oh, Netflix, you've embargoed this for a year. Instead, it was like, wait, there's 12 episodes What?
This was weirdly popular.
Yeah.
I don't get it.
It doesn't seem like people really talk about it now.
No. Possibly because it wasn't that good. I don't know.
It's...
I really gave it like a lot more chances than I probably should have because I kind of wanted to get it. It's, guy who's like... It's an isekai.
Yeah, except in this case the guy takes a pill that sends him back to No, it sends him back to high school age. Yes. And he goes back to high school. And, However, he's still basically a 30-something...
Yeah.
At heart.
So now he gets in all these romances with teenagers, and you're like, this ain't creepy at all. That's not why. I just think it's like, well, first of all, it's visually absolute garbage. Like, just maybe the most blandest animated, like, Tonari no Seki, like, shorts are better animated than this thing. Like, Tonari no Seki comes better.
Like Vampire Homes.
Okay, maybe not that bad, but...
Well, hey, look. Vampire Homes did have a distinct look, though, which this does not.
Okay. Yeah, it's just not as meaningful as I think it is. Anyway, there was Orange. Did you see Orange? I think
I saw the first episode. I've read the entire manga. I didn't really like how it was being adapted.
Oh, really?
Yeah, there was a lot of in the first episode.
Well, what is Orange first of all? Because it's like
so Orange is like kind of stealth sci-fi-ish. It's a shoujo in which there's this girl, it's the first day of school, there's a new transfer, and she thinks he's attractive. That's the basic premise. And she's part of a group of friends that they're fairly close-knit, they're a warm group. They're a group that you actually look and think, oh, okay, I can understand why these people are friends, and also I can understand... It's not like these ones where someo's asking me to accept that an asshole in the middle of the group is somehow part of this larger group that's warm and friendly. So she and her friends end up basically taking this guy under their wing and trying to integrate him into their group because they're like, oh, he's the new guy. Oh, let's make sure he's included with things. But he comes from a difficult household. His mother is mentally ill.
Sorry, I just remember what the main plot point is that sets it off.
Yeah.
It is she receives a letter.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. I'm leaving out a key thing. She receives a letter, and it's from, allegedly, herself in the future. And she's like, huh, that's kind of weird. And then everything, and she kind of dismisses it, but then the stuff that's in the letter that's like, there's going to be a transfer student. This is his name. This, that, and the other. And then she's like, wait, maybe... Anyway, so the guy's brought into the group, and then slowly we realize that, other members of the cast are also receiving these letters from the future. And it ends up becoming... You realize something traumatic happened. I can't remember how clear it is.
It's episode 1.
Okay.
Is the letter says that, this new guy, he committed suicide.
See, I don't know if it did that in the manga. I can't remember if it did it right away.
I did, because it did in chapter 1.
All right. Well, anyway, it's been a while since I read the manga.
Yeah, it suddenly all came back to me, because I'd been really hearing about this one for a while, because it was really highly regarded. But what was wrong with the anime version?
I remember there was something there was something a bit off-putting about the visuals, but I can't remember what it was. And it was I know I very distinctly, I didn't like how it was being adapted, but in retrospect, I can't remember why. Because I really like the manga. Yeah, I don't know. A lot of people liked it, though. Yeah, it's shoujo sci-fi-ish. Yeah. Sci-fi-ish is probably the best way to put... I don't know. Is it sci-fi to have time-traveling letters?
I mean, is the Notebook a sci-fi?
I have no idea. I've never interacted with that because it's totally not my bag.
Anyway.
Nicholas Sparks is a weirdo evangelical. No, thank you.
Okay. Next up, we have something I've seen.
And liked?
Yes, actually quite a lot, to be honest. 91 Days, which is set in Prohibition-era America, and it's about alcohol runners, basically. They make their own...
It's a mob story.
Mob story, yeah. It's full-on mob story. People go around wearing trilbies. There's crazy guys holding Tommy guns.
There's Italians.
The characters are called DeMarco and so on. There's one terrible guy wearing cowboy boots with blonde hair. He's awful. There's lots of you betrayed me.
Actually, it's the 20s, isn't it?
Yeah. There's
Thinking about the cars.
And there's people complaining about their lasagna being bad. It's, it is a mob story, 100%. And it's a very good genre piece, I think. It does it very well. And I think the actual central, we were friends and then there was a betrayal and now we must seek revenge and so on. I actually think that story is very well told. And it ends quite well. And it tells a complete story. It has a good ending, finishes, and you're like, yeah.
That works.
That worked. I don't know what the 91 days are now, though. I've forgotten.
I feel like I knew at one point, but I don't anymore. I didn't watch it completely. I watched 2 episodes.
Yeah. It's got that really awful guy, blonde hair guy with the cowboy boots who's crazy.
Yeah, maybe that's why I stopped watching.
Yeah, he was terrible.
I was a little bit bored.
Baccano is better, but whatever. Baccano's better than basically every anime this decade, so whatever.
Then there's something else you watched and I didn't watch, Saiki Kuso.
Saiki Kuso! This one it's a shonen comedy about a guy with, it's Mob Psycho. It's a guy with psychic powers who is way too powerful, so instead, but everything is really boring to him. So just him going around everyday life being gee, it's a sketch, it's a real goofy comedy, bunch of characters going whoa, but he keeps his powers hidden because he just wants people to use him. So he has
pink hair.
He has pink hair, and
that's what I remember.
And has alien things on his head, which he's psychically powered to make sure everyone doesn't notice them.
I have a sense. I don't think this was watched by a lot of people, was it?
No, it wasn't. I think it was something to do with the way it was streamed.
Yeah, there was something funky about that. But I don't remember what.
It has a really high score on MAL. People who watched it liked it a lot. It's just not very many people. And because it's so low key, it's difficult. It reminds me of there actually used to be quite a number of shonen comedies like this one where it's just it's just high school life, but
here's
goofy.
a slightly odd angle to go in on.
It's Ranma or anything like that. It's that's. His parents are hilarious because they realize it, because they know his kid has psychic powers, but they're super supportive. Mm-hmm. And he's like, God, my parents are so annoying, but also I will get them pudding sometime. It's fine. It's good. It's the kind of thing. It's the kind of thing you watch age 12, 13 and be like, anime is great. I enjoyed it enough.
Now there's a string of shows that, some of which were more successful than others, that I would say we range from lukewarm on to just meh. So New Game was a smallish hit at the time.
Yeah, well, it got a second season, so it didn't do well enough and it was 24 episodes.
Yeah.
And got a second season, so clearly it did fairly well for itself. I felt because it's about...
I hate the character designs with a burning, fiery passion, and people keep trying to get me to watch this, and folks, if you're listening to this, don't recommend this to me. I am not interested in it. I aggressively dislike the character designs. I understand, that people say, as a workplace... drama's probably putting it a bit excessively, but as a depiction of a workplace... is good. Okay, fine. I'm sure it is. But I aggressively loathe the character designs.
It's basically Shirobako, but with video games.
Yeah.
Rather than anime.
And they all look like they're about 8.5 years old. Also, someone never wears pants for no discernible reason.
I never got around to it. I felt like I probably should have, but then didn't. I watched
There's so many shows like that.
Yeah. Well. Oh well.
We watched a little bit of Sweetness and Lightning.
I did, which was sweet.
It's okay.
It's about
It's inoffensive, I guess is how I would describe it.
It's one of those, here's a single dad, and here's his daughter, and he wants to connect with his daughter, because his daughter's very sad that she doesn't get nice food. So
but it's also, too, he's a single dad because his wife died.
Yeah.
So it's not just like, I'm a single dad, it's, my kid is, I'm also struggling with the single dad thing because I suspect that my daughter still is really broken up about the fact that her mother is dead, and I feel like I'm never going to be adequate. He's a high school teacher, though, and for some reason, one of his students ends up being involved with it.
Yeah.
Oh, you know what? Doesn't he take his daughter to an izakaya late in the evening?
Something like that.
And they're about to close, but she ends up keeping the place open.
She owns, because her family owns.
Her family runs the place.
And he sees how excited his daughter is to eat rice.
Yeah.
And I think at one point, like, the poor guy breaks out crying because he's cooked some nice rice for her.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's basically like a dad.
And his student's like, well, here, I can show you how to make some of this stuff.
Yeah. It's a dad it's a dad connecting with his child by learning how to cook. It's very sweet. It's just, that's kind of all there is. You kind of get the gist of it within 2 episodes.
Also, too, I'm sorry, but anime has too checkered of a record on things like, well, high school girls for me to ever feel entirely at ease with the fact that one of his students is just showing up at his home to help cook things. There is genuinely nothing that in the show is doing that is like, oh, this is weird. It's just, again, because anime has such a bad track record on this.
You were afraid.
You can't quite shake that uneasy feeling.
Yes. Japan does not get a free pass on this.
I mean, I feel like saying Japan is making it too... Because I would argue there's similar issues that exist in other countries' entertainment. I mean... Don't even fucking get me started on shit like American Beauty.
Oh, yes.
Which, yeah. Then there's this, speaking of crap.
Wow, harsh.
That was about American Beauty. Oh, folks, guess what? We got a key adaptation in 2016.
The year of our Lord Madoka 2016.
Wouldn't that more like be the year of Lord Madoka 5?
Look.
You see. That's Universal Century, folks, just in case you're
not sophisticated enough.
Rewrite. This was an adaptation of a key property. God, it looks terrible, which was a bit... It feels shocking to look at how badly this looks when my primary memories of key adaptations are the KyoAni ones, which even if now I look back and I'm like, I don't know about some of these design choices, they looked really good in that era. And the animation is really good. I
always remember the really... I think it's like frame rate of the weird robot girl scenes from Clannad. Like, they had a weird dreamlike feel that was always very magical.
Oh, yeah. Those sequences were... I can picture one of them in particular, which involved, I think, her hair blowing in the wind. That was very... That was good. They really got across the dreamlike quality of that. Anyway, my point is...
Rewrite is not that.
When that's your memory of that stuff, you watch a rewrite and it's like, holy... What? How did this happen? This is so hideous. God.
And
I watched a little bit of Rewrite because it was a trip rather than I think I was enjoying it. Although some of its bits of humor I was like, oh, yeah, I kind of remember this. You know, Key is capable of turning out some funny stuff when it wants to. Sometimes it does things it thinks are funny that aren't. But there are moments of Key's humor that work for me. And yeah, this is weird watching. Because it's such a relic.
Yeah. Thing is, I actually, like, Key's time has passed. I think you could recapture Key, but, like, not with this level of production. Like, the Key KyoAni...
Well, I think Planetarian's probably the better example of a more recent adaptation. But part of that is that Planetarian is such a neatly self-contained story that I think it's a lot easier to adapt in the first place.
Yeah.
Rewrite gets weird in a way that previous Key doesn't really. it's not to say, yes, there's always been the magical realism and some fantastical elements.
Air had some pretty weird stuff. The main character turns into a crow in Air.
True.
Yes. Anyway.
But this had some stuff that just, I don't know. Maybe it's because I'm older. It seemed a lot weirder. Hey, look, it's pretty bold to turn your would-be romantic lead into a crow and eliminate him from the final frames of the story in doing so.
Anyway, then we had a Manchu, which was
the long-awaited sequel to Kamichu.
Yes, by the author of Aria. Aria the Scarlet Armor. No, Aria the
Origination.
Origination. Well, all of those Aria things.
Good God, this was boring. I know there are people out here who are going to be grinding their teeth when they hear me say that, because this was one that not a lot of people watched it, but people who watched it really loved it. But I was so bored.
I don't know. I don't like Aria, so I'm a bad judge.
I was so bored. I really tried. I watched 4 episodes of this.
If you're going to watch an anime, it's scuba diving.
Oh, God! No.
Watch Grand Blue Dreaming.
I mean, if you really like scuba diving, you're probably better off just not watching any anime that are allegedly about
That's true. Grand Blue Dreaming does not have much scuba diving in. That's not this season. We should talk about Grand Blue Dreaming.
I think Manchu had a decent amount, but again, it was so boring.
Yeah.
I find the other thing is the characters to me didn't actually behave in ways that to me approximate human behavior. Or rather, there were too many of them that were a shade too quirky for me to accept as being likely or legitimate. I'm sorry, folks. I know a bunch of you love this thing to pieces. But, people are also mad because I guess it went hetero in the manga, so...
Damn, the heteros at it again.
Allegedly, this author's really, really bad about doing that. Because also she apparently is not good at het romance at all either.
Okay. And then there's a whole bunch of shite. Absolute
Speaking of really bad hetero romance, First Love Monster, because you know what, folks? Pedo shit, it ain't just for the guys anymore.
Oh no.
So, this is a shoujo which the premise is a high school girl sees this boy and is like, wow, he's so fucking hot. And tries to spend time with him and then suddenly realizes he's actually just an overgrown primary school student.
He's like 10 years old.
I think he's 11 or 12, but still, she's 17.
Yeah.
Ugh. And then there's a second one who shows up in it who's also somehow like, I look like I'm 20, but I'm actually 10. I really don't understand who thought this was a good idea.
Japan did.
Folks, instead of like equal opportunity pedo shit, can we just not have pedo shit?
That is good.
It's just a small request on my behalf. Cheer Danchi, when I watched it, I enjoyed what I watched of it, but I also heard it got bad.
Oh.
So I don't know how to...
Is this about the cheerleading boys?
It's about... it's college students and they decide they're going to form a cheering club, basically, because cheerleading in Japan... There's a whole subset of cheerleading in Japan, which is like, this is the manliest shit ever! I'm not kidding. And... Anyway, it shows about these boys young men forming a cheerleading squad. But yeah, I stopped watching it. I don't remember why. And then and I meant to catch up with it, and people were like, oh, it got terrible. So then I never did.
And then, speaking of sports anime, we had the Noitamina anime this season.
Which Amazon, I think, provided a huge chunk of the funding for. You forgot to say. It's very specifically... Amazon ended up doing an exclusive deal for Noitamina's shows.
Yes.
That was Cabaneri was the first one. Battery is a sports show that is, I think it was adapted from a novel.
I think so, yeah.
And it's one of the sports shows that instead of being hot-blooded shonen stuff is more along the lines of, this is supposed to be a coming-of-age...
Emotion,
although a lot of the hot-blooded sports stuff does this too. It had pretensions that a lot of sports shows don't have.
Hideously boring. Like, shockingly,
monstrously
boring.
It was not that it was boring. It was that the lead is a horrible, horrible, horrible child.
Oh, that's it.
Like, incredibly awful. And he has a younger brother who I think is a bit delicate, and he's awful about the kid. You know, just incredibly repellent child. And that's why I didn't
and
like
Amazon paid out of the nose for this.
You know, I think, actually, you know who I think did the, if I'm not mistaken, weren't the character designs by Takako Shimura?
I think so. Absolute,
anyway, this show sucked.
Absolute flop, and probably scared
I don't
Amazon.
think anybody watched it.
Might have scared Amazon in some level away.
It's worth pointing out, though, that part of it being a flop, though, is that Amazon did not promote any of these shows it had.
No, they promoted Cabaneri, but that was it, I think.
Even that then, was a bit half-hearted.
Yeah.
Amazon was comically inept at handling any of the shows that it
that is true.
Streamed, which, when you consider the sheer amount of money they spent, seems absolutely bafflingly idiotic. Yeah, they didn't promote this anywhere, and I seem to recall it was the sort of thing where a lot of people just stumbled across it.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I like anime. Oh, there's this. I don't think Anime Strike existed yet, though.
Whereas, like, in the meanwhile...
I have to look that up before our next one to see when it came into existence.
Because we talked about Agretzko in the previous episode. Like, I know people have problems with Netflix. Netflix did promote Agretzko. They promoted their stuff in general.
Yeah.
Like, you have your problems with, like, you know, what's Crazy Compulsive Gambler, where they basically wrap up the rights to it and then don't stream it until like 6 months after it's finished airing. But when it does air, they promote it.
Yeah, they're not shy about promoting it. I know just this summer with Carol and Tuesday when they dropped the 13 episodes, they were all over the place being like, check this shit out.
Yeah.
And, you know, like regular ass entertainment magazines in the West were covering it.
Yeah.
But Amazon just took stuff and sat on it and never said anything.
That is correct.
They also were really bad about releasing episodes on time.
Yeah.
Or,
subtitles missing.
A lot of times releasing stuff without subtitles or,
TLDR, Amazon sucks.
Yep. One more reason why they suck.
Yeah.
Speaking of sucking, no, I'm kidding. Well...
No, you're not kidding.
I'm not kidding. People are upset about Berserk.
To say, that's putting it lightly. Like, so I didn't actually like the CG movies that much, but people seem to be, like, kind of mixed on them. There was some positive reactions, some negative reactions. Like, to talk about what a big deal this is, Berserk is arguably one of the biggest manga of all time. It is factually one of the biggest manga of all time. It has absurd sales. A new volume is released, is an event.
Don't get out of the boat.
Don't get out of the boat. But the original anime only covered the so-called Golden Age arc, which is the first arc, and then everything goes to shit at the end. They turn into demons. Nothing had ever gone past that. There's entire characters, stories, just everything. Basically what Berserk actually is about was never... touched on. This was the first time it was touched on, and it was the most horrifically animated piece.
So if I'm not mistaken, there's an entire Tumblr dedicated to comparing the screenshots from the original airing of this series to what actually got released on Blu-ray.
Oh, yes.
I mean, there are vast chunks of this that they reanimated completely.
It looks like PS2 cutscenes. It is... And, like, it has that horrible... It's CG animated. It has a horrible thing of CG animated where it looks like nothing actually touches anything. It's all floating. There's
People
no weight.
are a little too shiny.
No one really gets weight. It's exactly like every bad video game cutscene where no one looks like they interact with gravity correctly. Now,
I will say this. Having seen the screen caps side by side, it is kind of amazing how much better the Blu-ray looks. I don't know if it satisfied anyone, but it did look a hell of a lot better.
I think the damage has been done, unfortunately. This had one of the worst reputations I remember an anime getting when it came out. Just the level of just furiousness people had over just how awful it was. Particularly because of what a big deal it should have been. The return of Berserk.
Yeah. You know, there's a lot of mishandling of storied properties in the second half of the decade. Because I'm thinking about Sailor Moon Crystal, which we mentioned the third season of last week.
There's just... And the thing is, when you do it right, you can. Like, you look at JoJo's and what a phenomenon that has become this decade.
Yeah. Well, or something like Hunter x Hunter.
Yes, that's a really good example, actually.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of other examples.
And, like, even then, well, Berserk is arguably bigger than both of them. Berserk's arguably bigger than JoJo's.
Actually, you know what's a good example at this very second?
What?
Fruits Basket.
Oh, people really like the remake.
Fruits Basket.
People really like the remake, don't they?
I'm still not going to watch it. But, we're talking about all these things that got, long-awaited sequels, relooks, etc. D. Grayman.
Oh, God, my sister was a big fan of this.
Which, D. Grayman is one of the shonen properties from the first decade of this century that was quite popular at the time. Certainly not on the level of Naruto or Bleach, but it still had a pretty healthy following that, man, no one mentions it anymore. But it did get a sequel this season, D. Grayman Hallow. I think it was only 12 episodes, though.
Yeah, I think so, yeah. I always had a look to it that I liked.
I just feel like mentioning it, I really have nothing to say about it, though.
Always had a look.
Yeah.
I had the first manga volume to it. And then we have some ONAs, I think. Well, first I want to say was like, maybe I've used this phrase a couple of times. This is actually the worst anime of the decade. Onaru Goro, which is about a sentient talking fart.
The fart man.
It is about, there's a man who's sitting there and a bunch of teen kids.
Isn't it a detective?
No.
No, that's Butt Detective.
It's Butt Detective. No, it's something else. My vague memory is that there's a character sitting, like some old man sitting on a roof wearing a pink shirt, and then a bunch of like teen ruffians come along and we're all like, rah, rah, rah. And then the guy farts, and the fart comes out, and it's this like kind of like middle-aged, overweight man in the form of a fart who goes like, who then says some bullshit that means nothing, and then all the characters go, and all the teens go, oh, you're so right, fart One-san, and then leave. And that's the story.
One-san.
And then it has, this is, oh God, I'd forgotten about this. Oh God, this is amazing. Okay, maybe this isn't the worst anime of the decade. And then it has these poor idols, like dressed up in idol gear, like real life idols, dancing to the ending song, and they have a CG version of the fart man. of the fart doing the dance with them, and they're like, and you look at these idols and you're like, you're trying to make it big. Like, I've seen enough bloody idol shows that I like at least have a vague understanding of what you have to go through.
What a cutthroat industry this is.
And here's your big breakthrough. You get to dance alongside a CG fart. Oh God, I'd forgotten about that.
Wait, so you said it wasn't the worst?
Maybe I'm re-evaluating. No, it is the worst, because you've made these poor idols
dance with a CG fart. God, I wonder where those poor women are right now.
And they're like, where they're dancing is like clearly set up to be like an idol scene, but it's pretty low budget. Like, it's probably animated. It's probably someone's put their phone up on a tripod and.
I feel like we intimately know about the plight of, like, go nowhere idols to a degree that maybe we don't about some other areas of various entertainment industries. Okay, but idols. Good luck.
There's one more.
Oh God! So this is somewhat infamous. This is one of the anime that came to be through a Kickstarter campaign.
Yes.
Which we seem to have passed out of the
zeitgeist.
When Kickstarter and anime was first having its meetup, there was a lot of feeling like, excitement about, this could be a new way of funding, and there were some interesting projects that popped up, some more successful than others, but I think it's really fallen off.
Yeah. Crowdfunding as a whole has fallen off. It's now mostly you see stuff like Patreon. Well,
Kickstarters at this point, I think it's not stuff like this that's getting kickstarted. In fact, the only other example I can think of, the more recent example of a Kickstarter that was successful that involved anime was Nekopara, which is a visual novel getting some episodes made. Interestingly, though, yesterday, one of the North American publishers announced they're doing a Kickstarter for Invaders of the Rokujoma,
Oh, yeah.
I don't know enough details to say if it's for the light novels. You know what, too? Kickstarter's gotten kind of a bad reputation for companies that really should have their own resources to do stuff, using it to offload stuff to fans to a degree that's not particularly good for the industry.
Yeah.
The most infamous example of which it has got to be digital manga press or publishing, which I would highly encourage people to stay the hell away from anything they put out. They've some very scammy stuff involving, in particular, some of Tezuka's properties.
Oh, I've only vaguely heard about this. Don't know any details.
Stuff where just people not getting the promised rewards for years after the fact or never getting stuff. And Digital Manga Press has been in trouble before for sketchy legal dealings, so they got in trouble with a Japanese publisher for publishing stuff that the license of which was contentious. It's just... Folks, please don't support them. And I say that too because they have just announced a Yuri imprint. I beg you, do not give these people money. They have had a lot of shady business practices and they're not good for the industry. I would put them not quite in the same category as Tokyo Pop, but in terms of should you buy stuff from them, they're in the same category as Tokyo Pop. Okay. Just stay away from these folks. They were also involved with... Sorry to go on at length. They were also involved with...
public service announcement.
They were also involved with... so sort of like Tokyo Pop was doing scammy crap with, translators and with original creators.
Yeah.
Digital Manga Press had a platform, still might have a platform, in which they were crowdsourcing translations of manga they published. Yes. And, they're paying... a fraction of what these people should be making for their labors. Also, the releases were really bad quality. Ungrammatical. The sort of stuff that if you got it off a Scanlation site, you'd be like, I don't know about this.
Yeah.
That's how bad it was. So, stay away from them. Also, do not work for them. A lot of younger people who have been learning Japanese have gotten scammed by these folks.
Yeah.
But anyway, speaking of scammy shit, Underdog.
It wasn't scammy shit. It was purely the messaging. So basically, Underdog is by.
It did take a long time to actually.
It took a long time to come out for something that's just a half an hour OVA basically. It's just it's an action thing about assassins and stuff with guns, but it's by the person who made Sword and the Stranger, and it's a bunch of those people. Where I take the issue with was oh, okay, cool, you're making a short, etc. It was their messaging was all around how we're going to save anime.
They were really pretentious.
And that's where I turned from okay, some small little project, cool, to you're making a generic action thing. And here's the thing, it's people who are the kind of people they're trying to appeal to are people who are anime's all moe shit nowadays. The moe boom had died by the time they were doing this is 2016, this Kickstarter was 2014, 2013. The moe boom had died. Anime had been saved. You're making something that's not special.
Also, was anime really in trouble in 2013 or 14?
No. Anime eventing was on the up. It was getting more popular than ever.
We could make now, I think you could make a legitimate argument at this point in time that anime is in trouble because its economic model doesn't make any goddamn sense, but...
Yes, but
this is not... Their whole thing was not to do with that. Things had not progressed to the point they're at now.
And then they put it out and it was just it's just it's generic. Shut up, you bunch of pretentious goons. Yeah, so...
Was Red Juice involved with the character designs?
Oh, possibly. That actually makes sense.
Because that was at a point where, I don't think the bloom had quite come off the rose for people with regards to their character designs, but...
I still like their character designs.
I would like them better if so many of their female characters didn't end up looking wafy and weird.
Wafy. Some people are into wafy. Fine.
I'm sorry. What was that, complete non-entity in,
Oh, yeah, Guilty Crown.
Yeah.
I know.
Her character design was fucking awful.
I would disagree, but anyway.
Her outfit was stupid as hell.
Okay. We can at least agree the people who made Under the Dog were talking out their hole and ended completely.
I mean, I don't feel as strongly about it as you do because I didn't pay that much attention to it, to be honest.
Yeah, it
was like, oh yeah, that Under the Dog thing. Oh, okay.
It just pissed me off the way
kind of over there.
The people, they were just so like saving anime by making some generic action things.
When clearly the one that saved anime was the fart show.
Oh, clearly, yes. They saved the career of those idols. And that was the summer 2016 season.
The movies were fairly immense.
Yeah, that's putting it lightly.
And Mob Psycho and Live Sunshine were big.
I like Mob Psycho a lot. Mob Psycho. I've heard people call Mob Psycho a classic already, so it's I'm not sure if it is, but well, the time will tell on that one.
Time will tell.
It might be, but anyway.
Summer will show.
And that was the summer 2016 season. Blah 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 blah.
Tongue twister.
So for the ending song, I was thinking of going for the Mob Psycho opening.
That's fine by me.
Everyone got to count up. Anyway. Look,
the only counting that I ever needed in my anime themes is the counting in. Uda Pre, Maji Love, 1000%.
No, Mob Psycho, play us out Mob Psycho, please.
If everyone is not special, maybe you can be what you want to be. You look or be, can I see me? The kind of love. Your life is your one, okay. Go to bed to the night.